So I want to talk about a major myth I hear all the time. Deadlifting is terrible for your low back. And I'm going to be honest, recently I posted a video of myself doing sumo deadlifts. Posted it on socials, and you guys are great. I got the thumbs up and the hearts and the fire emojis. The fire emojis are my favorite. But there was one person that said, "Be careful, Ashley." And I'm going to be honest, he kind of got to me. My initial thought was excuse me, sir, let's pay more attention about our visceral fat and swollen ankles and a little less attention on my deadlift. But I have to be honest, I think one, he's just kind of being dad-like. I don't think he means any harm. And two, I really think he's under a fear-based false pretense that deadlifts are actually bad for our back. And that's just not true. So I want to take a second to discuss some of what a lot of us know already in the strength and conditioning community and in the sports rehab world. And we're finally seeing the literature start to catch up. So I want to show you or talk about what the literature is actually saying about the deadlift. So first off, injury rates are actually much lower than what we perceive them to be. So an injury rate in deadlifting, if you deadlift for 1,000 hours of training, the literature suggests that there may be 1 to 4.4 injuries per 1,000 hours of training. Now, the first thing I want us to recognize is that injury rate, between 1 and 4, that injury rate isn't just low back. That's injury rate for lumbosacral, elbow, shoulder, so a multitude of things. And I want us to know that really that was reported as, oh, I had pain, not actually tissue damage, okay? But let's just go with it anyways. Injury rates in deadlifting, between 1 and 4 injuries per 1,000 hours of training. It's actually not that high. Let's compare that to some other sports. When we look at a sport like rugby, football, I know you guys are like, oh, you're being extreme. Those are contact sports. Okay, let's compare it to basketball, soccer. Deadlifting actually has a lower injury rate than some of our sports. So right off the bat, I think our perception is a little skewed, not as much of a problem as what we think. I really think the risk, if any, is in load management, not the actual movement pattern. I think the problem again is in load management. And I think we need to remember the spine is actually very adaptable to load, okay? But I think the risk emerges when capacity, right, our capacity to handle load is less than load. So the hell is she even talking about? Think about load spikes. Someone hasn't been to the gym 4 or 5 years, goes back to the gym and says, I used to deadlift 200 pounds, I'll just start there, right? Load is greater than the current capacity. Or maybe something some of us are familiar with, it's springtime right now, and a lot of us are doing yard work, and you're picking up the bags of mulch, and you're picking up the who knows what, lawn refuge. That's a lot of bending, which really should be, in my mind, it really should be a deadlift. But your load during that weekend is exceeding what your body is used to or adapted to. So I really think the risk emerges when we're having a load management problem. So first was, I think our perception is wrong. Second, I think we're actually having a load management problem, not a movement pattern problem. The next thing I want to talk about, maybe if we're going to talk about deadlifting, is the repetitive high fatigue. So if we have repetition and we're becoming fatigued, I think that's where the risk is. And I think we should be honest with one another. That repetitive high risk is probably with any movement pattern, not just a deadlift movement pattern. But let's talk about it anyways. When we see high repetitions at high load over maybe a shortened period of time, we do start to see the biomechanics start to degrade a little bit, and that's when we're opening the door to possible injury, okay? Think training to failure. I personally am a huge fan of leaving two or three quality repetitions left over. So if I think I could do 8 beautiful, perfect, in my opinion, deadlifts, okay, I may stop, I can do 8, but I'm gonna do 5 really good ones. So I think you hear in training, leaving some reps in reserve, and that's to decrease the risk of injury. The other thing that I think of when I think of high fatigue during deadlifting, but again, I think this could apply to many types of exercises, is when we have poor recovery, right? Poor recovery could be you just got a really crappy night's sleep. Maybe you had 2 or 3 nights in a row of poor sleep. Your body's not ready to maybe do some of those heavy repetitive lifts. Maybe you're underfueled. Maybe the truth is you've tied together, and I'm guilty, tied together too many lifting days or too many training days together, and then that sets you up for possible high fatigue, which again, I'm gonna say that's a problem in any exercise we do, not just deadlifting. Under that high fatigue, I'm gonna go ahead and put in a subcategory there of occupational repetition. Now, I say occupational repetition, and most of you initially go to, oh, she's talking about manual laborers, people who are picking up heavy things all day long, right? Think people that do lawn work, think people that do construction, those types of things, okay? Yes, I do think that they could be at risk, but the other thing that I'm really thinking of with regards to occupational repetition is really how much some of us end up sitting. And I think that if we are choosing to do a heavy weightlifting session and then follow that up with, I got stuck at my desk for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, I don't think we should blame the heavy lifting. I really think we should blame the occupational overload of sitting, of which I would have to say most of us do a terrible job of having wonderful posture when we sit, and frankly, I don't know that there's any great posture for sitting. So under the category of repetition and fatigue with deadlifting, I'm gonna put a subcategory of occupational repetition, and I'm not just talking about our manual laborers, I'm talking about the desk jockeys out there too. So the other thing that I'm seeing is deadlifting is now really used as a rehab exercise. Hell yes! I have been saying this for years. And now the literature is really starting to back us up over the past 5 to 7 years. If you're someone who suffers from low back pain, maybe we need a stronger posterior chain. Your posterior chain is your gluteus maximus and your latissimus dorsi. both of which should be highly engaged in a numerous types of deadlifts. We want a stronger posterior chain, and deadlifts do that for us. We're looking for both strength and endurance of that posterior chain. The other way that I think we're using deadlifts in rehab is load tolerance. I want to be able to tolerate picking up things without adverse consequences. Should I be able to carry my own luggage through the airport? Yes. Should I be able to pick up my luggage and put it in the overhead bin? It's probably a deadlift pattern. Yes. Should I be able to lift the cooler into the car, lift the cooler out of the car, carry it to wherever I'm looking to carry it? Yes, yes, and more yes. I think training the deadlift helps me with load tolerance in other areas of my life, and that's why I love the deadlift in rehab. The other thing is post-injury. I think sometimes we have fear avoidance, and retraining the deadlift helps give us improved movement confidence. I'm super into that. We don't need to fear movement. I want to give you guys the confidence to move, and I do think the deadlift does that for us. So, we're busting up the myth, deadlifts are bad for you. I want to give us some key takeaways. What are the key takeaways here? Deadlifts are dangerous. That is an outdated fear. I do not think that I support that, and I do not think that the literature supports that. Deadlifts are dangerous. Wrong. Spinal flexion in a deadlift always equals injury. Actually wrong. That could probably be a whole nother side note or lecture, and maybe I'll write that down and we'll discuss that in the future. You'll have to let me know if you're interested. Another myth, if you have low back pain, you should never do a deadlift. That is wrong. The literature actually does not support that. And if anything, the current literature is supporting that maybe we should train our posterior chain, glutes and lats, and a deadlift does that for us. So a couple more key takeaways. As with any activity, there's always risk with any activity. If you are poorly managing volume and intensity of any activity, there's a risk in that. If we have high repetition and high repetition to failure, that may be a risk, but that's with any activity. If we are increasing load too quickly, right? If we're looking over at our neighbor and looking at what they're lifting and we're like, oh, maybe I should lift that too, don't try to keep up with the Joneses, okay? I think that if we see a spike in load, that's a risk, but I think that's a risk for many types of activity. And I just want to repeat again, the injury risk here is relatively low. Load management is really the important take-home message here. Deadlifts are safe and maybe beneficial in rehab. And at the end of the day, I want you to have confidence in your body. Your body is absolutely amazing. Your spine can adapt to load if you train it correctly. If you're somebody who has stayed away from deadlifts in the past, if you're somebody who would like to revisit the deadlift, but you're not exactly sure how to do that, we would love to help you. Please, by all means, reach out.